Welcome to Big Blue Breakdown, your Sunday edition. We're going twice a week now, and we're here on Sunday. It's your host, as always, Matthew Lyle, joined by Michael Buckheister himself. How are you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. Catching a little Z's on the way home from beautiful Kansas City, Missouri, on my way back to southern Indiana. Couldn't be much more. I love the snow, even though people are driving like complete idiots. But it is what it is. Caught some UK sports this morning, man.
Absolutely. Well, let's venture outside UK a little bit. Congratulations, you're diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan. They were able to get their first playoff win in quite some time.
1993.
They're going to host their first ever AFC Championship, and because we're just going to stay in your neck of the woods, a very trivial stat I heard: Patrick Mahomes is the first Big 12 quarterback to win a playoff game.
Wow.
I emphasize the word Big 12 because in 1995 they were the Big 8,
right?
And Big 8 quarterbacks won playoff game, but Big 12 quarterback game or Big 12 quarterbacks, this is the first playoff win they've had.
And you know what?
Interesting stat.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that because we've had some pretty big names come out of the Big 12 area. Like you had Vince Young, you had of course Baker Mayfield. Maybe he'll win a playoff game this next year. And then was it like 2008 or 2009? They had the year of the quarterback in there. You had Chase Daniels. You had that Texas Tech quarterback. His name's slipping my mind. But there were like 4 quarterbacks that were taking the top 10 or 12 maybe like that year. So that's a mind-boggling stat, actually.
It is, and I don't know who's it. We can talk about this on another show that's not Kentucky centric, but it's who gets more credit on that or blame? Is it that the Big 12 is such a passing league? Well, it historically hasn't worked in the NFL. Which if the trend keeps continuing in the NFL, you're going to see Big 12 quarterbacks winning the Super Bowl because. Right. What they do in the conference play translates to pro play. But it was a good little weekend for you, and I know that was kind of an odd stat.
Yeah,
but
it was kind of like looking at it at like hindsight. Maybe they're doing so bad because they do so well in college. They get sent to those bad teams, and they never kind of really pan out. So like Geno Smith for example. He got sent to wherever he got sent, and who knows where he's at. He's coaching AAU basketball or something. But
all right, yeah, it's always tough to tell. I think when you get into any sport, basketball, here at Kentucky, we experience this. A lot of times it's chicken or egg. Is it the college that develops the player? Is it
right.
when you see somebody like Klay Thompson go nuts or do you give Washington State all that credit, or do you say he was good to begin with?
Yeah.
Or when you see a guy who went to Kentucky or Duke struggling, do you say, oh, it's because of college, or was he going to struggle no matter what? So anytime you get that discussion, very chicken or egg. Speaking of some other obscure stats, I actually did some research on this, and I posted this around some of the Kentucky pages, I want to say 2 days ago. I said that if everything holds to form, 2019, I don't know how often this happened, but I imagine it hasn't happened very often.
Yeah.
2019 could be the first year ever that Kentucky has had a first-round pick in the 4 major sports. We had a soccer player, J.J. Williams, go number 18 to one of those MLS teams. I'm sorry, I don't follow MLS. We got Josh Allen, very easily could go top 5. Keldon Johnson easily could go top 10. And we have a baseball player who's projected to go top 10 as well.
Right.
The only other school to do that was 2017, North Carolina. They had a guy go MLS, NBA, NFL, NBA, MLS, and MLB. My thunder was stolen a little bit by somebody who, much knowledgeable than myself, put out a stat that since 2015, we have had a first-round pick in everything. And I know I saw that you shared that on the Big Blue Breakdown page, Mike.
I think it was Chris, but yeah.
Oh, Chris. Anyway, it was shared. Since 2015, we've had, of course, people drafted in the NBA. We've had first-round picks in the NFL. We've had first-round picks in Major League Baseball. We've had first-round picks in Major League Soccer. We've had first-round pick in softball. I want to say women's soccer, WNBA. And some of these are impressive because I want to say it was like the professional softball league only had like 5 picks in the first round. So for somebody from Kentucky to come in there and grab one was pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, that is just speaking of like how great Kentucky sports are starting to become. Because if you looked at it last year, there was a lot of buzz around that baseball team. Because I believe we went into to Cardinal Stadium, or they may have played at Bat Stadium. I'm not for sure, but I believe it was the first time that both of those teams were ranked in the top 10, and Kentucky came out on top of that. If I'm not mistaken, they won the series 2-3. What's that?
No, I was just agreeing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to say they finished the year in the top 15, top 16. Yeah, they didn't make it to the College World Series, which I believe only 8 teams make it there. But they're doing great things, and they're kind of putting that staple of like Lexington, Kentucky. If you want to be good at sports, this is where to go, from archery to gymnastics to baseball to soccer to football to basketball. Like we are no longer just a basketball school. We are a all around, great. I mean, I don't want to say great because I don't know the history of like soccer and baseball, but they are above average, pretty good school to come play for.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly agree with that, and because I enjoy knowledge, I enjoy researching things, and I enjoy debating. So when I saw that posted, I said, well, let's see how true that is. And it is true. Since if you're going back 2015, if you move it one year or another, that starts to lose. It becomes untrue. But if we're sticking just with 2015, you look at other schools. North Carolina really is up there with us, but they didn't have anybody go in softball.
Yeah.
Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, these big time universities, they didn't have people go in the WNBA, or they didn't have somebody go in women's soccer. So collectively, I think you're right. I think we're getting to the point, and it's not hurting that the SEC is starting to become relevant in other sports other than football.
That is a big key there. Big key there.
Yeah, aside from the fact that Conference USA is our soccer team. But I think you look at this year. I mean, our football team, 10 wins. Our basketball team, we're going to talk about their struggles and concerns, but let's be real. We all have struggles.
Air quotes.
Yeah, exactly. But we all still hold our breath and have faith that a national championship is well within our grasp. Our soccer team, our women's volleyball team, these guys have made it further than any team in their history. Our women's basketball team got a big-time win against Tennessee. They've only lost 2 games. It was a close one to Louisville, and they laid a dud against Mississippi State. What's our baseball? What's our softball team going? We're really moving in a really good direction as far as our athletics go. And I know that you've taken time to talk about each one previously. I just think collectively we're on to something.
Well, and I think the largest eye-opening thing in that whole stat there, or the whole sporting in general, is the spring sports. Is your softball and your baseball and your soccer even, because like historically, a lot of these teams in the colder states, such as Indiana or Kentucky, all these Midwest teams really aren't very good at baseball, because most of the players don't want to play in the cold. They want to go to California and at Cal Fullerton or the Miamis or the Florida States, because it is legitimately warm there all year around. Yes, they may flirt with like 40 degrees every now and then, but normally it's above 60. And when you're throwing a baseball, 120 times per game, you want your arm to be warm. You want to be warm. Being cold sucks when you're playing sports. So that is the biggest eye-raising stat for like me is the baseball team is so good. The softball team is getting really good, and even the soccer team, because the soccer championship was in November. I remember them playing. it's like 13 degrees outside. Who wants to play soccer when it's 13 degrees outside?
I'll be a little devil's advocate on that. I think that in today's time with climate everywhere, I mean, shoot, we got snow in Texas. It was just 60 degrees here in Kentucky, 2 days ago?
Right.
I think the weather kind of comes and goes. The thing that I find the most impressive is you brought up a good point too, Mike, about the location. Some of these smaller sports, or pretty much anything outside of baseball, football, and basketball for every university, there's not a lot of budget there.
Right.
So recruiting doesn't really happen. So, for example, for our softball team or our archery team, I doubt we can hop on a plane and fly to L.A.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's why when you do see these localized championship runs. You brought up Cal Fullerton in baseball. Look at what is that rich sport, lacrosse.
Yeah.
Look at lacrosse and the coastal sport.
Yeah.
You know, schools like Duke, Harvard, Yale.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Eastern Coast, and it's not. And I'm sure that those schools could afford it, but I don't think the sport funding, the athletic funding, is there to just hop on a plane and fly to California, and the vice versa. You know, a lot of these smaller schools, your Cal Fullerton, there's so many of them in California. Your Dallas Baptist down in Texas,
right? Yeah,
they're great baseball programs. But I doubt they can very often just fly anywhere in the country to visit these kids. You know, you have
just to add to your point there, once the other sports start improving, like our football team is, like our basketball team is, that athletic budget starts to get a little bit more thick. You get to spread it out a little bit more here. So that will increase your athletics across the board when your basketball team is doing well, when your football team is doing well. Football is the highest money making sport. So when we have a 10-win season and we go down to the Citrus Bowl and we win that and we bring home $7-8 million, I'm not for sure how much they got like out of that, because I know the SEC, they get some too. But still, that's a couple $1 million coming back to the athletic department, where they can, put some here in the softball team, put some here in the baseball team, put some here in the soccer team. So,
well, and we talked about it with the WNBA or the women's college basketball last episode when we talked about why is UConn not so dominant, and it's because ESPN is taking more risk with showing women basketball. I don't want to say risk, but they're taking more opportunity to show lesser basketball teams in the women's sport. I think Kentucky's benefiting from that. You got a great point, Mike. We're a legitimate program. We're not, just your regionalized Cal State Fullerton. We're not Dallas Baptist. We're Kentucky, and Kentucky's not the best university ever, but it's a big time program.
And the name weighs merit like across the nation.
Right. So when these kids who do play these lesser sports, when they do play these volleyballs and softballs and soccer even, which I know in America is growing, but it doesn't hold a candle to any of the other time or the other sports. When those schools get to be on TV opposed to anybody else, kids, that recruits itself. And then you talk SEC football. Look, even when we go 2-10, we bring home some nice chunk of the pie, because the SEC has this lovely rule that no matter how good you guys do, we take the profit, divide it by 14, and kick it out to everybody.
Right.
So when we're going 2-10 and Alabama's winning national championship, we'll take our paycheck, please. So I think that's one thing that certainly helped us, and it's showing here. And I think if you're the SEC, that's one thing you can always boost the future football teams if you ever want to grow your league, is we don't have a bottom team. I mean, we will rotate and have teams that are bad, but every one of our programs have been able to at least every one of our programs has at least had a time to shine. It was 4 or 5 years ago with Derek Mason, Vanderbilt was ranked, or maybe it was James Franklin. Vanderbilt was ranked.
Right.
Arkansas has been big, bold contenders. Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss. Before they got into all their legal troubles, was up there.
Even
Kentucky
Arkansas
now.
has been good.
Yeah. Tennessee has enjoyed its days in the spotlight and been off 10 wins here recently. So the SEC can say, hey, if you come here, it's going to be tough because you're going to have to play Bama, LSU, Florida, and Georgia. But there's money to be made here, and you can get to the top.
Yeah, and just before we switch topics here and start talking about a little bit of basketball here, you said that the quote-unquote not as popular sports, the lesser sports, that is no disrespect to like anybody out there that plays softball or volleyball or soccer. It just, that is not one of the major sports that, you know, ESPN covers. So that's what Matthew was referring to by that, because like my wife was an amazing volleyball player in college, and I got her a great education, and I applaud her like every day for that. So.
And some of these quote-unquote lesser sports that I was referring to, I'm not taking anything away from the athletic abilities.
I was just making sure.
Think I think some of these these smaller sports take bigger tolls on the body, aside from maybe football. But you watch these sports and they're extremely hard. It's just the fact that I say lesser sports and the fact that ESPN doesn't give it to you.
Right.
There's no pro. There's no pro option really. It's you do this in high school, maybe you can go to college, and then you're kind of just done with it. But those are the three major sports.
Yeah, I just didn't want to make our 15% female fan base upset there by saying that volleyball is not important. It is important. It is. So, it's a tax write-off.
All right. Well, let's move on to, as Mike promised, some basketball. Had an ugly game against Vanderbilt yesterday. Came away with a win. I think it was, honestly, I was looking at it, I think that's our only non-double-digit point win we've had all season. What were your thoughts on it, Mike?
Well, my thoughts were that I guess when you play Kentucky, the arc is open. Like anybody and everybody can hit a 3-point shot versus Kentucky, it seems like. And they were 5 of 5 in that first 8-9 minute stretch there. But the overall thoughts of the game is, you know, Kentucky came out slow again. It was a 14-4 score, I think, at one point before Kentucky cut it down to 2 or 3 points with the under 8 timeout, if I'm not mistaken. And just like it's like it kind of seems like a overall aspect of the game that nobody really was like, this is my game. Like, they all kind of were like passive aggressive. They didn't really want to be there. Like it almost seemed like. I mean, like, yes, PJ had some big blocks. Nick had that big alley oop, and then that missed alley oop the very next possession coming down the court. You know, Hagen's I believe he may have had 10 points if I'm not mistaken. Like, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think he was the standout scorer, like the leader, the pusher of the pace the whole game, which that is what you want from your point guard, but nobody else was really following suit. And I kind of want to put a lot of blame on that on the fans, because if you look at the start of the game on that very first camera angle on the tip, you probably see 50% of the stands full on that side of the court where the camera was pointing. And as a player, it is kind of hard to get up for a game when the fans aren't up for the game. They're in their cell phones, they're licking on their ice cream. Half of them are still maybe driving to the game still. So fans, we need to get behind this team if you guys want a really national championship push type of team. We need to show up early. We need to get into the game early, and for like everybody, just not these mediocre teams. So the overall aspect of the game, we kind of played sluggish, maybe tired. Like, I don't know. I mean, it was a Saturday night game. We did just get back from Alabama, 4 days earlier. But they're college kids; they should be able to recover from that pretty quickly. But it was just an ugly game to watch. It was sluggish, ugly. That zone defense that Vanderbilt was running against us, that first, 30 minutes of the game, 35 minutes.
Well, they were in the zone defense probably for 55 minutes. I mean,
yeah, it's we need to figure that out. We need to figure out a zone offense that works. Pass the ball around, get them out of possession, get them out of position for those easy shots.
So, a couple of observations. First off, I mean, I get what you're saying about the travel, Mike, but you know they played Bama last Saturday, and then they played Texas A&M Tuesday. So, you know they've been here. The fans, I get it. I'll be honest with you, especially because SEC has been historically pretty a boring conference. It's tough. The only time that in at least recent history that the Kentucky fans have packed the house on random conference games is when we're going undefeated, and it's because they get really bored. I mean, let's be real. Like, people expect losses. People expect to lose at Georgia. You know, they don't expect it, but they realize what's going to happen. And we've already compiled 3 losses, so it's not like 4 and 5 is going to hurt any worse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it'd be one thing if this was loss number 1 and we're trying to avoid it like the plague. No, we've already got 3 losses, 1 really bad one, 2 sloppy ones. That a 4th one, it's hard for me to get too excited over a win. It's hard for me to get too disappointed for a loss. This is going to continue till March. I call it the old, I don't know, the coma state of the Kentucky fan.
Yeah.
January and February is.
We're expecting to win, but if we lose, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only going to be a few circle times on that calendar. Kansas, Tennessee, Auburn, maybe Florida still has enough to pack the place. As far as the game goes, so Mike, for people who don't know, Mike's, I don't know to the degree of his ability, but I know he's very tech savvy. He knows a lot with computers. He works on computers for a living. Not to put too much out there, Mike, but I'm setting the tone. How boring would it be for you, or how frustrating would it be for you if you went to a computer 101 class, like for old people, like for seniors, like they're sitting down and they're like, okay, if you push this button to the left, the computer will turn on. Like you would be very frustrated, right? Because
exactly.
that's well below. And look, most of the people watching these Kentucky games, their basketball knowledge can't even compare to your computer knowledge. That's just being honest, because you know typically 99% of the people watching basketball don't get paid to know basketball. But I'm just trying to set this up.
Right.
What we are watching, and what I have noticed that fans and maybe even the media, I'm not just putting it on like people who don't know, just people in general are getting frustrated with, is we are watching Cal teach the basics. We are watching Cal let these guys figure it out. And yes, it is frustrating. It was frustrating when no timeout got called against Seton Hall. It was frustrating when we went on a 4 to 5 minute just against Alabama.
Right.
It was frustrating when we got down 10-0 to Texas A&M. It was frustrating when we're down 12 to Vandy. I get it. I'm not saying you're wrong to feel that way at all. But just remember, I would rather, because this Kentucky versus Vanderbilt means very little to Kentucky, but it meant a lot to Vanderbilt. And I like that, because Vanderbilt's not a tournament team. Vanderbilt might be in the NIT if they're lucky. But I would rather see the zone and see us struggle and learn versus Vandy than never face it and have to face the likes of Syracuse or West Virginia in March.
Virginia, they killer on that
zone.
Virginia,
yeah. Just any of these teams that practice and have this zone down pat, I would rather at least have an idea how to beat it. I would love to have – obviously I can't compare Vanderbilt to Virginia, but if Vanderbilt gave you a blueprint, because to your point, that's why the offense was boring, because those guys didn't know how to get it inside. And Vanderbilt did a great job of really stopping a lot of the stuff. So they're doing a good job of passing. You know, they're doing a good job of just forcing it to be passed from elbow to elbow. It's going from Tyler Hero to Ashton Hagans to Emmanuel Quickly, back to Quickly to Baker. You know, it's just it was frustrating to watch. But I'm motivated.
In their defense, this is probably the first time they've ever seen a zone offense. Because you're playing AAU ball and you're running up and down the court. We're really not playing much of offense, not much of a defense. In high school, they may have saw some zone, but not so a zone defense is very hard to play against if you're not if you don't know how to
in
pass
high
the ball.
school,
Yeah.
In high school, they probably saw quite a bit of zone, but they were so much taller and faster and better than the guy that was zoning them. You
True.
just slice through it.
True.
Welcome to zone. I'm sorry, guys. Welcome to zone versus equal level athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look on defense. One thing I think that Vanderbilt did a really good job of making everything feel sloppy and uncoordinated on offense. When Vanderbilt was on defense, when Kentucky was on offense, they were running that zone. Kentucky really didn't know how to attack it. When they on defense, Vanderbilt did a really good job of playing positionless basketball. They had Reed Travis guarding the three a lot.
Yeah.
They had Nick Richards. Every time I looked, Nick Richards was 20, 25 feet away from the basket.
We kept on
switching
on those screens. And
well,
it was definitely
you pretty much
us,
have to. But what are you going to do when there's four people outside the 3-point line?
Exactly.
You can't let them have it. So, and that point, that's why everybody wants to be so hard on us for allowing 3-pointers. And I'm sure there is something coaching that can be done. I'm sure Cal's working to improve that, working on how you get through picks, how you get through screens, how you double and recover. But let's be honest, man. There's a lot of wide open threes in just basketball in general that doesn't go in.
Right.
So there has to be some percentage of heart or effort or want to by these teams who come into Rupp Arena and shoot outstanding, because typically even if you leave them wide open, people are still going to miss. I mean, there's a lot of people in college that if you let them take 5 3-pointers in practice, they're not going 5 for 5.
They'll hit 2 or 3.
Yeah. So yes, I'm sure there's some things we're doing to make it easier for them, but you can't really take anything from them because it's not like in football when you play a team that has a bad run defense or you're a bad running team or a bad rushing team and you somehow rush for 300 yards because I'm like, how? This actually, you can leave a guy wide open and it's not 100% he's going to hit.
Yeah.
It's not.
I really truly feel that basket on the left side of the court is like 4 times as big because like every time they're open the game up like that, they hit 5 or 6 3-point shots in a row.
and I get it. When we watch, especially this year, when we watch Vanderbilt and Texas A&M get out 10 points, we start thinking of how we played against Duke, and that was ugly. But I'm okay with Vanderbilt and Texas A&M coming out like that because they're not as good as us.
And we're learning how to win. We're learning how to win.
Exactly. They're playing off raw emotion. You can't play 40 minutes off raw emotion. You're going to get in trouble foul-wise. You're going to get exhausted. Your offense and defense is going to go. So I'm okay when a team wants to come out, hit 3 3-pointers in the first 2 minutes, chest bump, high-fiving, hugging their coaches. That's fine with me, especially in rep, because you know what that tells me? In about 20 minutes, you're going to have 4 fouls and can't hit a layup.
Exactly.
I'm fine with that. And to your point, Mike, what this is doing is it's self-generating tough moments. It's making Kentucky play harder than they typically would play against this caliber of a team.
True.
So, I don't think Seton Hall and Alabama is that good of a team. But one thing I think Tyler Hero is learning, how to hit, even though he hasn't hit them yet, he's had 2 decent shots. Well, one might have been Kelvin Johnson. But either way, 2 of our bigger shooters have had decent shots at game-winning 3-pointers. They didn't go in. But just watch out. That experience, because it doesn't matter if you're playing Seton Hall, Bama, or Duke in the championship game.
Yeah.
That experience is going to come in eventually.
You have a couple shots fall your way. We're a 1-loss team, maybe 2-loss team.
Right. Exactly. So I just think, yes, it is frustrating that we were only in both those games. We were only down 2. We didn't need a 3. But I think there's going to come a time in March or in a big time game, Tyler Hero is going to hit a 3 at the buzzer, and I think the reason he's going to be so comfortable is because he's done it before. They didn't go in, but he shot them.
And
he
then
squared up his shoulders.
And then as soon as he hits that big shot, watch out, like the next game or two, he'll go off for 30 points or something like that. It just, the confidence is killer.
Right, and I know we're going to talk grades here, but That's one thing I think I'm excited about. Yes, every game you can nitpick. This guy disappeared. That guy disappeared. I'm thinking when March gets here, you're going to have PJ and Reed are going to be well-oiled machines. Because, they're veterans on this team. They know what to do. So they're going to know what to do. You're going to have Ashton Hagans, who's going to be – you're going to look at that kid and say, is he a sophomore or is he a junior? Because I think he's just going to be absurd. And then I'm just too optimistic. I'm 1,000% confident that when March gets here, Hero, Quickly, and Baker will be guys you can never afford to leave open. Now, Keldon Johnson's going to hit some, but he's such a scorer, and I think he's overall our best player that you're always going to have to respect him. Yeah. But I think when March gets here, you can't play that zone against us if Quickly, Hero, or Baker's on the court. Because, and it's funny seeing Baker shoot. Now, Baker came out there. Look how these compare. I'm going to take you Tyler Hero versus Baker, Jamal Baker. Tyler Hero, first time you ever saw him in blue, what did he do in Bahamas? Looked amazing. First time you saw Baker in blue, what did he do? Hit 2 last-minute three-pointers against Utah. It was whatever, but they went in, right?
Right.
Then, the next time you saw Hero, he was airballing them. What was he doing? The next time you saw Baker, he was airballing them. Then you started seeing Hero go through this process where you're like, how did he miss that? It literally circled the rim and bounced out. And now you have full faith in Tyler Hero, even though he didn't play great last night. Over the last couple games, Texas A&M, Louisville, North Carolina, I mean, the kid's hitting them. Well, look at Baker's. Baker's are starting to rim out now. I'm telling you, when March comes, those 3 guys on the court, you can't play zone.
And I would rather have a shooting slump now.
Oh, absolutely.
And then not late February,
absolutely.
March, and April. So you guys just keep shooting the ball. Just keep shooting the ball.
So if those guys, if March comes and those guys are the bullseye targets that we think they can be, you can't play zone, which means you got to go man-to-man on Reed and PJ, which means they're going to get their touches, which means you're going to double one of them, which means the other one's going to be wide open. I'm going to try. I think this can pan out. But all right,
team's looking very, very deep.
It is. And even when we thought, hey, losing Quad A, is taking us down to 9, Cal's going to tighten this rotation up even more. I just want EJ, Montgomery, and Nick not to look so lost at times. And maybe they never will. Maybe not this year. Maybe it's just going to be. But I just think there's still times where they look, and especially EJ. I just want to extend him. I'm not being hard on the kid. I feel bad for him because
I think he just needs
due to the starters typically overall playing so well, and then you finally throw EJ in. EJ probably got more minutes last night than he had in a while.
Yeah,
you throw him in, and they're playing this absurd zone, and we can't get the ball to the bigs. So every time we tried to kick it in. And I'll be honest with you, and we could have another show about this one, Mike. I've been to one UK game. And this is not a bad thing because it's basketball, but it just, when I walked into UK after watching hundreds and hundreds of games on TV, I was surprised how small that court looked.
Yeah.
On TV, it looks like those guys are about 15 feet from each other. In person, they can almost high-five each other from where they're standing. So I know, because I found myself saying, why aren't we packing it in? There's nobody preventing you from dumping it down low. And then I remembered to the day I went to Rupp Arena and watched UK basketball, and I was just baffled by how close to everyone they were. Yeah. Guys that looked open on TV, they were really close there in real life. And I don't know why that is. And on TV, it looks like the court's huge. But in real life, it's just a typical high school basketball court. It's
I think the TV adds 20 feet.
It must have, because it just looks like these passes on TV that they make from one side to the other looks like it's going 100 yards. Right. Looks like it's a Patrick Mahomes pass down the middle. When really, so I don't know. I just think if you
chest pass.
if you've never been to Rupp or you've never been to a college game, ESPN does a great job of making that court look huge. It makes it. I tell you this, I always thought that from the UK logo to the 3-point shot was about 10 feet. It's about 5. There's not a whole lot of space there. So I know it's probably me sounding silly, but when you're watching TV, you're like, oh, look at all that space. Why did he slow down? And then you got to remember, it doesn't look like that in real life. But let's start handing out these grades. We'll start with the high point that you talked about. Ashton Hagans, go.
I think Ashton deserves a A for this game, just because he was trying to be the leader, trying to make the pace of the game that the pace that he wanted to play at. Yes, the other players were not following suit. Vanderbilt was basically saying, no, we're going to play at this slow pace. But Hagans overall deserves an A because he is starting to come into his own, and the more he progresses, every game from here on out, I kind of expect him to have an A type of game.
Yeah, we're gonna need it. I'm gonna echo that. I'm gonna give him an A2, and because his ability is starting to pay off. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen him get to the basket and seen him just miss them.
Right.
They're actually starting to fall. He's got 4 straight points, double-digit scores, and yes, he didn't have the big steal count, but he came up with a couple of hard hustle plays. And when Vanderbilt doesn't. So Vanderbilt doesn't have a point guard because theirs got injured. So as the announcers probably told you 15 times. So they had to rely on like 3 or 4 ball handlers. That means Hagans can't guard the primary one.
Correct.
That means if Hagans is guarding the point guard, but the small forward's bringing it up the court, Hagans can't do anything about that. That's Keldon Johnson's man, and you know, you can't switch because the moment you switch, the actual point guard or whoever they got at point guard is going to bring it up the court. Either way, Hagans can't guard that guy every time, so that limits his potential to make a play. But yeah, overall, he still doesn't have a deep shot. I think he's 1 for 5 on the season in 3-pointers.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
But the fact that he's still blazing by everybody, and those shots are going in, means you got to respect that. And as long as you're respecting that, I think that opens up wonders for the rest of the team. So yeah, give Ashton Hagans an A for me. All right, moving on here, we got Tyler Herro. What's your grade, Mike?
I got to go with a B- because he didn't really stand out like in the game, but he really wasn't like, oh my God, don't give Herro the ball either, you know. So he had a very mediocre game. I'm not for sure how many points he had, but like he didn't really seem to hit a lot of big shots. So just the overall, like kind of what we alluded to like a few weeks ago, is like he didn't like he did not stand out either way. So right in the middle, B- for Herro.
Let me be a little harder this time. Let me go C, only because I've seen what he can do the last couple of games. For him to just disappear, and I don't want to say that bad because I know that he was still on the court making plays, but it's almost like he didn't. As the game went on, other guys, everybody struggled at the start with that zone. Other guards, mainly Keldon, Hagans, and Quickly, found a way to get creative. I felt it took a little longer for Herro to even attempt to find that way. He had a couple of short bunnies, a little floater that went in. But overall, I felt like he was still trying to make that 3-pointer work, or he caught the ball almost near the coaching box and then just had to pay it back to point. I didn't really think he did anything too outstanding on 3-pointers. He went for a couple steals that actually, or from on defense, went for a couple steals that seemed to set up bigger plays. So I'm not concerned by any means, but I'm gonna give him a C because, and this isn't like a math test where the answer is right there in front of you and you give it an A. No, this is a writing class. This is an English class, and I'm reading your essay.
Right.
I've seen better essays from Tyler Herro,
yeah.
So I'm a little disappointed. All right, let's move on. Keldon Johnson, what's your grade?
You know, I'm going to kind of echo what I just said a said about Hero. He did not really stand out, but he didn't really kind of fade into the background either. So I'm going to give him a B because I know he is our best player on the team, and for him to deserve a higher grade, he kind of needs to take over the game. He needs to, score 10 straight points or something, or maybe not score 10 straight points, but be involved in the offense. He needs to touch the ball, get it down to Reed, maybe penetrate a little bit, kick it out to Hero. I kind of expect more out of him, just like what you said about Hero. So that's why I'm kind of just giving him. Let's change that to a B-. So a B- grade for Johnson.
Okay, I'm going to go B, and much along the lines of take everything I said about Hero, except he figured out that zone a little better, and he's just a better player. And maybe that's not fair to say, but that's life. I mean, sometimes the prettier girl, the cooler kid, the richer person gets the benefit of the doubt. I hate to say it, but I guess that's just life. And Keldon had the same struggles as Hero. Keldon was just a better player.
Yep.
Keldon's just more athletic. Keldon may be a little basketball smarter on things he can do for himself. I think Hero's got a great future. But on this day, on January 12th, Keldon was the better guy, and he could figure it out. So I'm still a little disappointed in what I've seen. Everything I said for Hero really stands out here. Fouled out of the game, so obviously playing sloppy. But just the fact that he's a better player elevates that to a B because he did figure things out sooner than most guys.
True that.
All right, moving on to our big men. PJ Washington, what's your grade?
PJ, I got to go with a B-, just like as him as well. Yes, I know a lot of his additions to the team doesn't come. It doesn't come in the stat sheet as far as blocks, points, assists, boards, that kind of thing. He is a presence in there that it's kind of like an uplifting presence type of thing, and just since that zone was so effective and we couldn't get the ball down into the post, he really never got in the groove of the game. He had a 1 or 2 big blocks, I think, maybe. A couple, he's shooting threes. I don't like that at all. So I'm gonna have to give him a C- on that. He needs to figure out a way to get involved in that offense when the zone is just being effective the way it was. We need to figure out a way to get him the ball involved somehow. So him, C- for sure.
I'm gonna give him a B- on this because especially early on, I don't know how much he can do to get himself into the game, considering he's a big. He doesn't have any ball handling ability.
Yep.
It's funny, and I don't want to dock him for this, but how many recreational level sports have we been a part of, Mike, where a position's struggling and a other position says, "Let me try that. It's easy," right. And then they struggle because it looked like somewhere along the line, PJ said, "Let me start coming out. Let me start coming to the top of the key and see if that works," and it didn't. He got to the top of the key and realized he didn't know what to do with that ball any more than Higgins or Quickly.
True.
So, and of course, his threes weren't falling, to your point. So I feel like he made an effort. I don't know if that was Cal's decision or his decision or someone else's decision, but he made an effort to get the ball. He came to the top of the key, but when he got to the top of it, he was just as clueless as the guards were. So I'm gonna give him a B-. I think the effort's there on defense, and I love that. I think the game did not lend itself to PJ going off. He did make some decent little hook shots when he got the ball, and I like his ability, especially if we play a team that's playing man. I don't care how good they are, as long as they're in Division I, not an NBA team.
Yep.
I like our chances against anybody trying to guard him once he gets in a rhythm. Still a little concerned on the free throws, but I'm going to chalk this one up to the game plan more than a negative against him. So I'm going to give him a B- on this one. All right, we're going to move to Reed Travis.
So Reed Travis is earlier in the earlier in the season, he was a dominant force on this team, basically because I don't think the rest of the team knew what college basketball was all about. Yes, you had a couple sophomores in PJ and like Nick, but like other than that, the team was pretty much still a high school team. And Reed Travis being 24, 25 years old, he has graduated college. He's been there, done that. So he was kind of putting the team on his back, and since that point, he is kind of starting to fall back into the shadows a tad bit. You are seeing that his athletic ability isn't quite as good as PJ's or even Nick's. He is not a shot blocker. He really doesn't really dominate finish at the rim, but he has really good post moves. So with that being said, I can't dock him too much, but I'm going to give him a B- just because, when he did get a chance to get the ball, he was not finishing at the rim, or he was like, his shots just weren't falling. Like this is the type of game for him that he did not want to have. It was a very below average game for him, and kind of what I got accustomed to seeing, him averaging the 14, 15 points per game that he was having, and now he's kind of fallen back. So not a very good grade.
Yeah, you stole my thunder there a little bit, that top point, because I think that hits the nail on the head. You're seeing the cream rise to the top. You're seeing what we already know what Reed Travis is. Reed Travis is a heck of a college basketball player. He's got great energy. He's got great leadership, and he's pretty darn good on the court. He just happens to share that court with some future NBA players whenever they come out. You know what I'm saying? So those guys are catching up quick. It's like once they figured it out,
yep,
they're reaching their potential. Slowly but surely, everyone's getting to their potential. Reed's already capped out. And that's why when the season started, I said this is Reed's NBA. This is him being the big man on campus, ladies loving him, media wanting to talk to him, everybody wanting his opinion on everything, because he's already peaked. And I think he's fine with that. I just think he has to remember that. And last night, I don't think, and it had Texas A&M as well, I don't think he's remembered that. I think he gets flustered. Yeah. When he's not getting those 5 early free throw attempts, he starts to try to panic. We didn't touch this much against the Alabama game, and I don't want to put this as a negative on him, but if you look at that loss, we lost by 2. There was a 2-point shot in there that really would have had no negative impact on us. He got the ball down low. The guy was coming at him. He tried to do too much, and he traveled. He had an open dunk. He traveled.
Yep.
Now, obviously, things could have went other directions, but whether he made that basket or whether he traveled, they had to inbound the ball. When they inbound the ball, we created a turnover. So, essentially, that 2 points could have easily just slid right in there, which means we have a different basketball game on our hands, which means we're now tied with 5 seconds left. And like I said, I don't want to say anything negative against him, but that's just him not having a rhythm, but wanting to capture that magic and often doing too much. I think he'll settle down. But this game, I'm a generous teacher. I see what he's doing. I see he's trying to do everything to the best of his ability. I'm going to give him a B-. But Reed, remember, just tone it down. You're the leader. These kids, even though they're starting to reach their potential, they still need a leader. They're still not in their 20s. They need to look at somebody. That's you, Reed.
Yeah.
So when you start acting sloppy, they're going to start acting sloppy. Don't forget that.
And
just because Keldon Johnson is going to be a top 10 pick doesn't mean he can't listen to the word of the wise of Reed Travis.
And so, I truly think his minutes will start to go down more and more and more once EJ starts to figure himself out. So,
well, if Reed Travis doesn't want that, he's going to have to remember his role. We talked about this, 6 weeks ago, Mike?
Yep.
If everybody knows their role, Cal can play a lot of guys. He's going to have to remember his role. Even when he dunks, he's a heavy dunker, but he's not like Zion Williams by any means. He's not even P.J. Washington. He's not even Keldon Johnson,
right,
where his head's up around the rim. I mean, he's dunking like somebody who's about 6'5". So he just needs to remember he's the leader. He's the energy guy. He's the guy. What's those stupid? This is going to sound silly, and anybody listening to this is probably going to roll their eyes at me. What's that animal, that crane that picks the stuff out of the alligator's teeth? That's what he eats. That's Reed Travis's role. Everyone else is the gator. Everyone else is eating the big-time stuff. Reed Travis is going to be the most successful with his aggressive rebound. When you leave Reed Travis to cover PJ or EJ, then you make them pay.
And that is when we shut off Matthews Miles' microphone right there.
Exactly. I'm just saying, there's a crane out there. I'm just serious. It pecks the bacteria from the gator's teeth,
right?
And it lives a full life from that. And I'm not saying anything bad about it. Reed Travis can have a great season by doing that. He's just going to have to remember that's what he needs to do. Let's jump to the bench a little bit. Immanuel Quickley, go.
Immanuel Quickley, he came in and hit a few big shots there. He hit a couple big threes to kind of get the momentum swinging in our favor. I don't expect a lot from Immanuel, unfortunately. So for that, I'm going to give him an A because this is English class and it is kind of what you've done for me in the past. What I need to expect, and I did not expect him to have those few big shots that he had. So that's why I'm giving him an A for this game.
See, I'm going the other way. I'm going to give him a B because I did have those expectations. Not that he would be amazing, but that he would hit those shots. So he did that. And my expectation for Quickley is for him to come in and hit a couple shots. Check, he did that. For him to come in with Ashton Hagen and help figure out defenses that want to take the ball out of our point guard and big man's hands. So basically when you don't want Tyler Hero or Kelvin Johnson being ball handlers, you put Quickley in. He kind of did that. And then I don't want to see a huge drop-off when he comes in. I didn't see a huge, but I felt like there was times that the energy wasn't there. And at one time in the game, Cal was even mic'd up, and he said, I need you to do this so I can have you in there for those shots.
Right.
And what I think that was he had some slip-ups on defense. So obviously he's not going to get graded on the same harshness that you would a starter, but I still have that expectation for him. And he was okay in all of them, but I felt like he had some areas of improvement, and I felt there was 2 wide open threes that he passed up. Now I don't know how those possessions went. We might have got an even better basket, but if Cal's got you in there to shoot, and we're going to really need you to hit some threes, you got to take the 3 to hit the 3.
I think it's a confidence
I'm looking at the
thing.
guy. Yeah, and maybe it is. You know, I'm sure this is the first time ever in probably since 6th grade that this kid came off the bench. So, yeah, I'll give him a little flexibility, but I'm going to give him a B. Let's go Baker. What say you?
You know, he is so hard to grade because when he comes in the game, I don't know he is in there. Kind of like when we were grading like a few weeks ago when you said Nick, you know, like I'm giving Nick a B because I don't know when he's in there, but it's like, oh, there's Nick for like a big point. So for that, I'm giving him a B because I don't really know that he is in there. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing either. So right in the middle, I think he deserves a B. Hopefully, he can start to step up more toward the end when he starts finding his role a little bit better.
Yeah, the same, and we talked about this, and that was my reaction. Yes, that can be a bad thing, but that can also be a good thing. If you were to rank everybody, I would say Baker's probably the 9th guy on the rotation. So when you can put your 9th guy on there and not notice a drop-off, I'm okay with that. I mean, you hear a lot of people say, uh-oh, here's so-and-so, because, you know, when player number 4, I'm talking talent-wise on a team, when player number 4 gets in foul trouble, so you have to go with player number 10, and then you're like, oh, I bet they're going right at player number 10.
Right.
Nobody says that. When Baker comes in, no one says, oh, they're going to attack Baker. So I'm okay with that. My expectation now for Baker is to take smart shots. Don't take any shot that's going to create a run out. Don't shoot any air balls. Don't shoot any horrible 30-footers with a hand in your face. And don't be a liability on defense. And he's meeting those expectations. when he misses, he's to the point now where he misses. It's either an ugly shot that clanks one direction or it's close to going in. And I'm okay with that. So give me a B. I don't think he's doing anything amazing on defense, but he's not been a liability. And he's been a good body. Like, I think when you look at a tough SEC play and then you want a deep run in March, you're going to need a liable body just to throw in there and not cost your team. So I'll give him a B. I think he's doing that. E.J. Montgomery.
Same thing with Pager there. Like, you really don't know when he comes in, but this game he had there were a couple alley-oops that he was going for, and like the pass was just bad, or he just misjumped or something, and I don't know who to put the blame on that there. Like do I want to put it on Higgins for making a bad pass, or do I want to put it on EJ for trying to do too much too early, to not really trying to find the flow of the game, or like letting the game come to him. So with that being said, I got to give him a C. I'm being kind of harsh. Like, I know he didn't play a lot. I do believe this is his most minutes he's played in a game, though, if I'm not mistaken. But he just, like, I feel he needs to, when he comes in there, he needs to make a bigger impact, because he is usually coming in there for like Reed. You go from that pound post guy to kind of a finesse guy. I'm going to shoot that 8 or 10 foot shot, that type of thing. So I'm giving him a C just because I expect more out of him when he does come in the game.
I'm going to save some time here, I'm going to lump E.J. Montgomery and Nick Richards into the same grade on this one. They each share the grade. It's not like it's a collective grade. They each get their B minus. And the reason that is because, or maybe I should even give it an incomplete, because a lot of their mistakes, a lot of their things that got me flustered at those guys, and you say, you always, just like the Chicago Bears, there was a lot of mistakes made in that, but everybody was mad at the kicker. There was a lot of mistakes made in this game, but it always seemed to look like it was these two big men's fault. But I don't know. Like you said, when an alley-oop was a miss, and it tipped like Nick Richards' hand that went out of bounds, or E.J. Montgomery's hand that went out of bounds, was that truly their fault, or was it a horrible pass? When Nick Richards and E.J. tried to come up to the foul line and they got a ball in, but it got stolen, it got stripped from them, is that their fault for not taking it with more aggression, or was it truly bad passes? Because I'm thinking it was truly bad passes. Even down to the point where there was some miscommunication where where Nick Richards or EJ was guarding one guy and the rebound completely whiffed on them because they were all out of whack. I think you have to also put that on just the entire team being out of whack. Especially when you got a team this young, if nobody knows their direction, I can't get mad when two guys who come off the bench are following the same sloppiness as everyone else. So I can't say, oh, they're horrible because they were being equally as sloppy as their teammates. It's just tough for me to sit there and say, because there are some games where you're like, Nick, get it together, dude. Yeah. EJ, what are you thinking? This wasn't one of them. This was like, when you're looking at it, you're like, whose fault was that? What just happened? Was it Vanderbilt just being good? Like, I'm confused. So I can't be harsh on them. So both of them are going to get a B minus. And then, I'll let you have your take on Nick.
Yeah, I kind of got to say the same thing about Nick. He had that one big alley-oop, and then he kind of faded away off into the dust. So, exactly the same thing that you said. I don't know who to put the blame on, but I'm going to give Nick a C as well, just because I gave EJ a C as well. And I have to pretty much say the exact same thing that you said, and kind of clumped him as one, unfortunately.
Completely fair. The next segment we're going to do is preview Georgia, and these are going to be short segments because they're going to be difficult, because we're to that point where Georgia's not really a good team. Georgia's gotten their brains beat out by Tennessee and Auburn. Now, we do have to go to Athens. They do have Tom Crean. They always play us good, no matter what. They're going to play 110%. Everybody needs to know that I don't care if Georgia got beat by 1,000 by local high school A. They're going to come and play hard against Kentucky.
Exactly.
Those are facts. The closest we had two before we got our loss in 2015. We had two almost losses. One was at Ole Miss. One was at Georgia end of the season. So they're going to play us tough. It happens. We don't really have a lot to take on it. I can't think of a lot. But kind of give me some things to watch for. Kind of give me, at least on the Kentucky side, Mike, kind of what you're hoping to see from this team, and give me your prediction.
You know, I'm kind of hoping not to see a slow start. I'm not I'm not looking for a 15-0 run start, but you know, not a 10-0 start on the other side either. I want a fairly good start, you know, like an 8-8 game, you know, going into that 12-13 minute mark, and then I want to see us to turn it on early, you know, kind of stretch the lead out early, so it is a little bit more easier on my blood pressure going into halftime with a lead, you know, like a 10 to 12 point lead, not losing by 2 or 6 points or something to that effect. So I want them a good solid start, you know, 8-8 game, 10-8 game, going in that first time out or the first TV break, and then like out of that break coming out like a well-oiled machine. You know, I want to see them go on a 15-0 run, 16-0 like a run, kind of flex the muscle just a tad bit. And just like I said, like last game, I want to see a complete game. I don't think we're going to see a complete game against Georgia, because I think once we have that 15, 16 point run, we're going to let the foot off the gas a little bit, have that 5 minute slump, kind of let them crawl back into the game, and then it'll be kind of a dogfight toward the end.
See, and that's why, because in a perfect world, yes, give me 40 minutes of great basketball, but I don't think that's happening with this team yet. It's definitely not happening in conference on the road. And it's not happening even though we don't have divisions anymore, this is a former SEC East opponent. There's that rivalry, play them twice a year. I think those teams always hold the grudge more than those old SEC West schools. So, yeah, to your point, Mike, I would rather have the dogfight in the beginning, because if we get down 10 points, if we get down 15 points in the first half, what would essentially be the first quarter, I'm cool with that to an extent, because I have no doubt that the remaining 3 quarters, if you want to divide it up into 10-minute segments, are going to be 100% Kentucky trying, Cal stomping, Cal screaming. What tends to really hurt us is when we come out of the gate hot, we take a 10-point lead into halftime. When the second half starts, Cal's sitting on the bench, kind of with his hands on his knees, propped back, and then they start to go on a run. And then in the final 5-6 minutes, it's a 4-point game, but we're playing sloppy. We've checked out mentally, and it's really hard to get that cold engine started.
Exactly.
I would much rather us just come out and look like poop, have the fans mad, everybody booing the first 10 minutes, but then, you know, at halftime, us like the Vanderbilt game, they were leading by 12. We didn't lead at all in the first half, but at halftime when we were down 2, I bet everybody was feeling pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And then when we stretched it out to 12, 13 points, now you're like, okay, because it's hard for them. They've exhausted so much energy early. It's hard for them to find that energy. And I just don't think we're going to see a perfect 40 minutes. And I would rather be stressed at 7 o'clock than be stressed at 9 o'clock. So, what's your final? You don't have to give me a score if you want, but what do you think we're going to win by a little, lot, lose? What's your thought?
I'm thinking 75 to 62 type of game.
Oh.
I think we're going to stretch it out late. You know, they're going to like it'll be close in the last 1 minute left in the game. They'll start the foul, stretch the game out, and we'll hit our foul shots in the end and like stretch it out.
Yeah, I'm going to go 78. I'm going to go 68-65. I think there's going to be some bad offense and down stretches in this game because Georgia's not really that good, and we're going to look stagnant at times. And, of course, since teams watch film, they're going to throw the zone at it, depending on how good they can do it and how good we have adjusted. So give me 65-68. But I feel like Georgia hits a last-second three-pointer to make it that. I feel like you don't think we're that close, or maybe they even get a half-a-second heave that makes everybody a little nervous, but it's way off.
Right.
I think it's going to be close. I think Kentucky's going to play better the final couple minutes and pull it away. But I'm going 68-65. I think we're just going to be happy to get out of Athens, and everybody should be, really. I mean, at this point in the season, seeing what this is, seeing what the SEC can do, the teams going on the road in the SEC are getting popped in the mouth. You just need to be okay with an SEC win, in my opinion.
And
one thing I would like to – what's up?
Well, like I was going to say, I think the X factor of this game is going to be E.J. Montgomery coming off the bench. I want to see him. I expect him to have a big game.
So I'm not blaming you of this, but in my head, until I see more of EJ, I feel like EJ Montgomery is an obvious answer. And like I said, I'm not saying that you intended this or that you're wrong in that thought, but in my head, if any game that EJ Montgomery goes off, we're going to win because his role is so small in this team that his role, him having a great game, is going to make up for somebody who should be having a great game having a bad game, and we're going to win every until EJ becomes a big factor, either top 6 guys in the rotation. Any game that he goes for 15 points, we're going to win. Just because I think when you start it's like if you have the backup quarterback throw for 2 touchdowns, you're probably winning, or something bad's happened. So. One thing I want to see, and I don't know when we'll see it, and maybe we can't see it, and I'm not saying that we need to see it the entire game because obviously fatigue and human factor takes in a lot. But I would love to see, maybe even against Georgia, against Vanderbilt, against somebody, 4 minutes of what we saw versus Bama that final 2 minutes, where we are pressuring everything. Maybe even start a game off like that when we're super fresh.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Like you're shutting down the ball. I know it's going to take a lot, and you're pretty much going to have to replace the entire squad after that 4 minutes. But 4 minutes of pressuring the ball, 4 minutes of doubling the ball. Let's just see if we can get these guys shook early. And I know there's going to be blasphemy to bring this up. That's what Rick did down in Louisville with those bad teams or those less than star teams. He just said, we're going to do this, and good luck scoring on it. Now, obviously, Rick was a really good defensive coach. But give me just 4 minutes of Ashton Hagen double teaming every ball handler for 4 minutes. And preferably when we're not down 10 and need it. Preferably when we're up 4 and we're going to put them out of their misery with this.
Stretch it out.
Yeah, I think that would be great. So, obviously, we're going to wrap up the show here. We're going to play our game that we always play. But I want to be quick, Mike, so you don't have to be exact. This is another quick game we're going to throw in, especially when it's me and you, and we can kind of just bounce these ideas back and forth. I'm going to go through the players. Give me a percentage as of today that they come back. Okay. And it could be just 0% to 100%. It don't have to be all 88%. Just first thing that comes to your mind. We're going to be quick with this, then we're going to do our schedule, then we're going to be out. Percentage that they come back. Ashton Hagen.
75%.
I'm going to go 50, and I think every game it starts to trim down to 40. Tyler Herro.
That he comes back, 20% chance.
I'm going to go 40, but I think it's dwindling too. Keldon Johnson.
10%.
I'm going to go 0. I mean, unless a major injury, 0. P.J. Washington.
75%.
Ooh, I like it. I'm going to go 30. Reed Travis is obviously 0%. He's a senior, can't come back. Emmanuel Quickly.
85%.
I'm going to give you 80, yeah. Jamal Baker.
40%.
Really? Where do you think he goes? Transfers?
I just don't think he wants to be at Kentucky. So I think any way he gets a chance to get out, he's getting out.
Okay, I'm going to try to be upbeat and positive because he's not going pro. So I'm going to go 90. Hope he doesn't transfer. E.J. Montgomery.
85%.
I'm going to go 50. I'm feeling the same way about him as you feel about Baker. And Nick Richards.
95%.
Ooh, I'm going the exact opposite. I'm going 10%. I think there's something about being a junior here that guys just don't like. All right, that's our percentage factor. Let's see if that weighs as we start to see things develop. Hopping in here, you say we're going to get the win against Georgia. We're getting to a remarkably tough stretch here, fans. So it pains me to go through this. But you got us winning versus Georgia on the road at Auburn. Who you got, Mike? But just real quick, win or loss?
Oh, win at Auburn. Win at Auburn.
Win at Auburn?
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'll take it. Home versus Mississippi State.
Loss.
Home at Kansas.
Win. KU's going to be down.
Road versus Vandy.
Win.
Road versus Florida.
Loss.
At or home versus South Carolina.
Win.
At Mississippi State.
I think we're going to go in there and win.
LSU at home.
Win.
LSU Lexington.
Win.
Home versus Tennessee.
Loss.
At Missouri.
Loss.
Home versus Auburn.
Win.
Home versus Arkansas.
Win.
At Tennessee.
Win. I feel it.
At Ole Miss.
Loss.
At or home versus Florida.
Win.
So your station, if you didn't change, I don't remember the exact picks, but you still got us going 8 losses. So I think that would be 23-8.
Yeah,
Not bad. Can't hate on it.
Yeah, I flipped Tennessee and Ole Miss. I had us beating Ole Miss earlier in the season. I like what Ole Miss is doing.
Mhm.
I think they're going to be a pretty good team. I had them losing to us, and then I have us going to Knoxville and beating Knoxville, even though I had them sweeping the series on us.
So I have, of course, us winning Georgia. I think we're going to lose a close one to Auburn. I don't have faith in Mississippi State anymore. And like you said, Kansas is down 2 wins. I think we're going to struggle at Vanderbilt. I think we're going to struggle at Florida. I think we're going to beat South. I think we're going to win. I think we're going to beat South Carolina. Mississippi State on the road. There's a reason that people had them ranked. I think they had them overranked, but I don't want to have to go to Starksville. I think that's a loss. I think we beat LSU and Tennessee at home. I think we struggle, but we beat Missouri on the road. I think we get revenge at Auburn on home. I think we get a nice win against Arkansas, lose to Tennessee, barely beat Ole Miss, finish the season out with Florida. I think we finish out 25-6. I'm probably hoping more than anything. Anything to say before we close up the show, Mike?
Yeah, the SEC is looking really deep,
It
deep
is,
guys.
man.
So, I mean, any win on the road is a positive for Kentucky. We should expect to win at home, but we should be thankful that we get a win on the SEC on the road this season.
I'm gonna piggyback off you, Mike, and I'm gonna make a plea to the fan. And I'm not telling you how to fan. Everybody knows how to be their own fan, but I'm pleading. I see a lot of people laughing at Auburn for losing. They laugh at Mississippi State for losing. They laughed at North Carolina for losing earlier in the season. Look, people know the SEC is tough, but a good tournament seed for us is super important, especially with already 3 losses. I need every loss that we're about to have to look important. Auburn is still equally as tough as they were 2 months ago. Nothing happened. So the more Auburn loses, if we lose to that same exact Auburn team that we were going to face 2 months ago, but Auburn's ranked 25 opposed to ranked 6, that looks worse on us. Everybody was laughing when Ole Miss beat Mississippi State. That if we lose to Mississippi State, because that's going to be smack dab between Auburn and Kansas, that's probably an oversight game. I would much rather lose to number 15 Mississippi State than to unranked Mississippi State.
Exactly.
Everybody said, "Oh, I wish so-and-so would." Missouri almost beat Tennessee. No, because Missouri is going to be equally as bad when we play them, no matter what. Please let Tennessee be ranked number 1 when we play them, because either A, we lost to the number 1 team in the country, or we beat the number 1 team in the country. And imagine what that's going to do for our resume. So everybody, I'm not telling you who to root for. I'm telling you who to hate, who to cheer on. And like people going crazy, North Carolina, Louisville game, you can root for whoever because we beat them both. 1 win is going to make us look better. 1 loss is going to make us look worse. But I'm begging you, let's get on the board for some of these big teams we're facing. I hate the fact that Kansas is losing because I was hoping they were going to come into Rupp ranked 1, 2, or 3.
Me too.
And we was going to, So look,
as a KU hater too.
It's easy to say, ha, Kansas lost to the Northwestern. It's easy to laugh at that, but we don't play Northwestern. We don't play Iowa State. We don't play Kansas State. We play Kansas, so I need Kansas to be as good as possible because either A, you beat a good team or you lose to a good team. If Kansas comes in here somehow ranked 12th or 15th, that win/loss is going to look less impressive or more egregious. So like I said, cheer whoever you want. Just keep that in mind, that the bad teams are going to remain to be bad. If South Carolina pulls off an upset at Tennessee, that does not help us any way, shape, or form. Because it doesn't make South Carolina look any better, and it just makes Tennessee look a lot worse. So just think of that, because we're going to need a good resume. We've already lost to Seton Hall, Bama, and 30 points to Duke. We need some positive things on this resume. Duke and North Carolina and Louisville doesn't look like it's going to be strong enough to carry us, since Louisville lost to Pitt, and then Louisville beat North Carolina by 20. We need some more solid wins. Let's go, everybody we face. I want you to be ranked in the top 10, and then I want to beat you, and then we look amazing. But we're out. Thank you for joining us. Big Blue Breakdown. Catch us Thursday, right, Mike? Thursday. That's when we're up.
Big Blue.
Out. Big Blue.